Hey everyone, it's been a while since I posted a video. Been super busy, but little update. I got a new lens for this camera, so got a cool little macro lens. So hopefully the video quality gets a little bit better than it has been, and you can see everything I'm doing while tying. So let's jump straight into it. So today I'm going to be tying a little flashback pheasant tail, soft hackle. In the vise, I have a 450 BL hook in a size 14 with a 3.5 millimeter tungsten bead in soft pink. And I can post a link in the description. This is kind of a unique hook shape that I've really been digging. So I'll post a link in the description where you can get them. So let's start with the thread. Today I'm using Veevus 12/0 in green. And I'm just going to run a nice flat base down the hook. For the tail, Coq de Leon. On a 14, I usually grab, 5 or 6 fibers. So I just line up the tips, rip them off the stem, and I'm going to do a pinch wrap at the back. Couple loose wraps. So for my taste, this tail's a little long, so I'm just going to grab it, pull it to length there, and then I'm going to run the thread all the way back up to the bead. So on the body on this guy is going to be pheasant tail, but I'm going to run red wire to reinforce the pheasant tail, and it's just small UTC in red. And I'm going to tie this in along the far side of the hook. So I just jam the end in the bead there, and I'm trying to catch it right on the side of the hook. And then for the flashback on this, I'm using UTC Opal Mirage tinsel. You could do medium. I've done some with medium. It's quite a broad, thick flashback. But these guys I've been doing a little bit more subtle, so I'm using size small. So Opal Mirage tinsel in small. It's slightly thicker than Flashaboo, but very similar in size. So if you have Flashaboo, that's going to work as well. So I'm just going to tie that right on the top, and then going to wind everything back to the tail. And I'm just spinning my bobbin counterclockwise to flatten out the thread a little, especially with this macro lens. It's going to definitely keep my tying honest. And I'm just being really mindful to keep the tinsel right on the top of the shank. Okay, so once I go back to the tying point, now I'm ready to tie in my pheasant tail. This is just natural pheasant tail. This was either Hareline or Wapsi, one of the two. When you're grabbing pheasant tail, try to get nice supple fibers. I've noticed I've got some lying around from years ago that's getting quite brittle, and it's just a pain in the ass to tie with, so don't skimp, go buy a new pheasant tail. So on a 14, I'm going to grab four or five fibers. Actually, this one was broken. Let's go with 4. And if this was like a 16 or an 18, I would just tie it in as is, but I'm actually going to nip the tips off. It's just the very, very soft end of it. sometimes they have a tendency to snap right at the tie-in point. So I'm just going to lop them off. So these fibers I'm going to tie in on my side of the hook. Catch them right at the back, and again I'll flatten my thread out. And then I'm going to wind up to the bead. So once I'm up at the bead, I'm going to throw in just a 1 or 2 turn whip finish. And I'm actually going to put my bobbin in the cradle there, and I'm going to use the rotary function to wind this pheasant tail. But first, crazy glue, a couple dabs just on the top. And I'm going to wind this in the backwards fashion, so it's coming over the top of the hook back towards me. Go up to the bead, and now I'm going to catch it in. And let's get this cradle out of the way. Okay, now the flashback. So I'm going to pull the flash right over the back, and you'll be able to see that a little bit better. It's kind of easy with the bead. I just line it up with the gap in the bead. And then just a couple turns. So you'll see there it is right on the top. And I can nip this out now. And now I'm going to wrap the wire. So not a ton of pressure with this wire. I don't want to move the flash back. And I'm going to go maybe four or 5 wraps. I like 4, and then I'll catch the 5th. How about that? Secure the wire, I'll bend it back over itself and just helicopter it out. Okay, now for the thorax on this guy. So I'm going to do a little ball of ice dub, and I'm using Peacock Eye Ice Dub UV from Hareline. This stuff is super buggy, nice peacock black, greeny, blue hue to it. So I'm going to make a little ball, and then I'm going to put the CDC in front of it. So I probably have like 5 or 6 fibers, really not that many. And we'll see how this comes out. Might have to add a little bit more, but it's better to go thin and add than it is to just put a big glob of dubbing. Whoops, camera's closer than I thought. All right. So I want to leave a little bit of room at the front. So I'm going to wrap the CDC and then put a little bit more dubbing in front of it, and then we'll do a really small whip finish. So for CDC, using this dark dun. This happens to be Nature's Spirit, but whenever you can find nice CDC, grab it. So I'm going to flatten this thread out again, counterclockwise spin, and I'm going to grab my bodkin, and I'm actually going to split this thread. And it's 12/0, so it's a little bit of a challenge, but it's really doable still. So ahead of time I put some CDC in a small Stonfolk clip, And for 14, 16, this is good. 16, I probably wouldn't even use a whole small clip, just slightly less. But I'm going to split the thread, put it in. And now, while keeping tension on the thread, I'm going to pinch and then give my bobbin a clockwise spin. And I'll just do this a couple times, and then I pinch the thread and I push it up, run my fingers up, and you'll see it spin, and then it kind of evens itself out. And now we're ready to wrap, so I'll pinch the fibers back. And that's about 3 turns. That's pretty good. When it's wet, it's gonna kind of dampen down. So don't cut the butt ends square. So if they're too long, which is normally the case, I'll pinch, find my tail, and just pinch the ends off, roughly the length of the tail. Okay, and then now we're gonna go back in with that ice dub. This time I'm using like maybe 3 fibers. Really don't need much at all. Just want to fill the space between the CDC and the bead. So if you can see, nice thin noodle. Like 2 turns. And then to finish this fly, I'm going to go back with the crazy glue and just run maybe like a half inch down the thread. Put 3 wraps in there, and then I'm going to do a 2 or 3 turn whip finish. And that's it. So you can see the little flashback in there. It's not too overpowering. You got a little bit of sparkle from the pink bead, and a lot of natural elements as well. So give it a go. Do another video soon of a soft hackle, so I'll use a hen hackle instead of the CDC. It's a little bit different, similar. Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching.